Welcome to today's Hangout. We will be talking today to Sue Ellson. She's an independent LinkedIn professional and the founder of Newcomers Network. Hi, Sue, how are you?
Good, thanks, Sam. And you?
I'm good, thanks. But now let's move to another area. You know now that there is a lot of social media and digital consultants and experts like you, and they are using LinkedIn for exposure, for more exposure, for people to know them more. They are not looking for jobs, but they are looking more for exposure, let's say. So how we can use LinkedIn as a platform to increase our exposure as consultants or experts or specialists?
Well, one of the great things that LinkedIn has introduced is posts, and I find these invaluable. Now, in the past, a lot of people participated in groups and also started following companies. And, you know, that's all good, but you tend to get lost in a news feed and at the bottom of some list somewhere. But by writing a post, what it does is it adds it to your profile. Obviously, you can be searched on that in the Pulse section of LinkedIn. So if you go under Interests and you click Pulse, you can see lots of different stuff that you can track and follow, but you can also click Discover, and you know that will make some recommendations on who you might like to be interested in. But also from the top menu bar here, you can do a search on posts. So if I was looking for somebody who did social media, Adelaide, in the post section, it will in theory help me find some posts around that topic. So here we go, Ryan Holmes, you know, etc., etc. So these are actual articles that I could find about that topic, and then I could obviously sort of look at those and say, well, you know, this is somebody really useful who's written something on. Now, the average punter is not going to know to search Pulse to find articles. But if I hear about Sam and I think, well, is he any good or not, I'm going to look at his profile. So if you look at my profile as an example, and you scroll down, you can see that my 3 most current posts are written here. But if we click See More, what we will then see is this article that I wrote on March the 2nd has already had 345 views, 13 likes, 8 comments. This one down here, 1,242 views since October the 16th. Now, most of us, when we have our own blogs on our own websites, we don't get that kind of ratio of eyeballs. You know, we're just not going to see that many people looking at us. So this really is good. Now, the other thing that happens is when you do a post, it will also show up in all of your contacts notifications, which is over here on the flag. So you can see here that Greg Paul has published a new post, Steve Barlow, you know, etc., etc. So it gives you that little notification in the red flag to say that these people have published posts. But also it puts it in the news feed. Now, I've got 6,500 contacts now. Now, there is no way that I could keep up to date with my news feed. I mean, it would just be impossible.
It's difficult for sure
to do that. But what I will do is I will check my notifications. And if something pops up here that I like, I'm much more likely to read it. So I feel that this post section is a really good way to profile and get yourself noticed. Now, what you can also do, depending on what your overall purpose is, if you're a social media expert in the field of education in schools or something like that, what you could choose is to join a group and look for one that, you know, was specialising in schools or something or another, and you could then sort of join that group and consider contributing to that group, you know, if that's your area of expertise. But again, the normal rules of social media apply, where 70% of the content you generate should be information, 20% sharing somebody else's, and 10% sales. And I find that particular behaviour a little bit too aggressive for the Australian market. And, you know, people would think, oh, you know, what's that social media person doing in here? They're not really an educator, blah, blah, blah. So it's not a particular technique that I like, but it is a particular technique that some people do. The other way to get exposure is obviously to connect to people related to your industry, because what's going to happen, I don't know whether you've noticed, Sam, since you've connected with me, but my face keeps popping up, you know, all over the place in your news feed because I'm connecting to new people, or I've published a post, or I've commented on something. So then there's that very subtle way of, just by being active on LinkedIn, it automatically lets connections know that you exist. And if your headline's really cool, then what it's going to do is it's going to remind people, oh yeah, there's Sue, that independent LinkedIn specialist, you know, popping up again. So for instance, here, Javira Asir is a senior account manager at Monster Southeast Asia. So that little, you know, reminder of what she does is going to pop up. So that's again why it's so important to have your primary keywords in your headline.
Oh, these are all great tips and ideas for LinkedIn, for social media and digital marketing experts who would like to have more exposure. Um, I think that LinkedIn posts is something booming now, and I can tell you that I can see a lot of the experts and specialists are posting. But I would like to ask you: is over posting is a good thing or a bad thing? Because sometimes I see people posting almost every day, and it's somehow not realistic that you can write an article or a blog on a daily basis.
I absolutely agree with you, Sam, and I call those people tryhards. And, you know, it looks like, well, why aren't you out there doing the real job instead of just writing posts on LinkedIn? And also what I find is the quality of their posts is absolute crap. And so I have one particular person I know, and he's posting probably once a week, and his views have increased to 1,500 over the last 90 days. So if you look at my profile, you'll see that, I'll just scroll down here to this stat. I've had 705 profile views in the last 90 days. And I actually suggest that if you want to be active on LinkedIn, you've got to have more than 100. And I can reverse stalk and see who's been looking at my profile as well. But what you need to think about is exactly the same as you would in any form of SEO or SEM, is conversions. And by posting all those times, how many conversions are they getting? And this person who's got 1,400 views in the last 90 days says nobody's contacting him for work. And I said, well, you know, you've got to include A, more calls to action, but B, I don't think that behaviour is well received. So if you look at my blog articles, I'm trying to write one roughly once a month. It's not exactly that, but if you look at the profile, and this one would be a good one for your you know, subscribers to look at, how to maximize your company profile on LinkedIn. So this is if they're working for one of their clients and their client has a company profile on LinkedIn. Here's what they could do. So it talks about completing it, including the keywords, inviting all of the staff to put their profile on, inviting key clients to follow the company profile, recording the stats. Now this is really good quality information and resource. But not only have I sort of written what I think you should do, but I've also linked into some more really good quality articles on the topic as well from reputable sources, mostly LinkedIn, which, you know, those articles were actually quite difficult to find on LinkedIn. And then I've included my call to action at the end. So if somebody really likes it, if you believe it's helpful, I've actually given them some instructions. But and I've also got some workshops coming up. You know, I'll probably take that off. I need to take that off shortly. But the sales message only comes at the end, but all the quality information they had prior to that means they're going to be much more interested in actually, you know, looking at that other content. And as you would know, I've got inbound links, outbound links. You know, I've got heading 1s, heading 2s. I've got little quotes, I've got dot points, you know, etc., etc. So even that content within the article, I've used a number of SEO techniques as well.
That's really interesting, and thanks for all these ideas. And I think the one thing that the main thing I'm coming out with this Hangout is think of your profile and posts as a search engine optimization friendly profile and posts.
Correct. correct. But also, you've got to remember that's the computer experience. You want to make the computer find you. But then when the user gets there, what is their experience going to be? Are they going to feel, after having read this article, that they're more well informed, that there was something useful there, you know? And if that's the case, then it's a good quality post. But if it's just a short rant and come along to my next workshop, you know, and it's 300 words, well, forget it. And there was another headline of a post that I saw the other day, and I loved the sound of it. It used the word listicles. And I really loved it because I thought that is so true. So many people just write posts and it's just another list of the 10 best this or the 5 best that or, you know, something or another else. And they said we've got to stop writing listicles. I must look it up because it really the headline really grabbed my attention because in terms of engagement and sharing, you know, the articles that get shared are the ones that people really enjoy, and they're the ones that are funny or they're really good advice or they're a bit edgy or something like that. Whereas if you're just writing the boring, you know, why am I the best digital, you know, rep for your business, that's not a post. You know, that's not going to create engagement. And if I'm thinking about buying your services, I want to be inspired by what you've written, you know. And if you're just going to give me, you know, another sales pitch, as a typical Australian, I'm just going to move on to the next person who I see is a better fit for me. Because as recruiters, what we do is we think we are very logical about our decision making and our hiring process, but basically what we're trying to assess is, could I work with Sam or not? You know, and I heard this little dialogue on Facebook yesterday, and there's this guy in the I'm a Business Owner in Victoria Facebook group, which is quite a large group, and he's constantly banging on about how he hates WordPress and how you should use his proprietary software, blah, blah, blah. Well, one of the posts he wrote yesterday was, I've just lost one of my clients to a competitor and they didn't even say goodbye and now they're going to be screwed because of this, this and this. Now, if you ask me, that didn't do him any favours whatsoever. It just looked like sour grapes and it didn't look professional, and you know, it wasn't authentic. And one thing I love about social media is it cuts through all the bullshit. You know, if you try and be something you're not, social media picks it up pretty quickly. And so I always work on the basis that everything I say has to be of value, and if it's not of value, I just won't publish.
That's great. That's another great outcome of the Hangout. And at the end, I would like to thank you and just let me just give us your last tips for LinkedIn in 2015.
Right. Well, in terms of last tips, I would say complete your profile, but you must ultimately decide what your purpose is and stick to that. You need to think about primary and secondary keywords. And if you want to use LinkedIn to find work and you've seen a job that you've advertised on LinkedIn, what you can do is, we'll just do have we got time to do a quick example?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Digital creative, Adelaide. All right, so let's have a look. Are any of these jobs in Adelaide? All right, let's have a look at this one. Now, let's hope it's not. Oh, this one's apply on the company website, so we can't use that one. But if it was a job...
This will be one of the questions that I would like to ask you after we finish about applying on the company website versus applying on LinkedIn. But sorry for interrupting.
Unfortunately, we can't change. You know, we have to apply on the company website if that's what the employer has said. And the reason they do that is because they've got a database system that they have to use, and you know, they want you to enter it all into that. So most of these are probably going to be apply on the company website. But anyway, if the job was not apply on the company website and it was apply through LinkedIn, what it enables you to do is attach one document, or just hit the send button and send off your LinkedIn profile. Now, I am going to tell you straight up front, there is absolutely no point to sending off your LinkedIn profile, because that has not tailored the application for the recruiter. So if I was applying for this job here at Accenture Interactive as a UI designer, what I would actually say is, I would write a cover letter and I would say, I am proficient in user-centric design methods and techniques. I've had experience using responsive design in such and such and such and such. I have a knowledge of emerging digital technologies, platforms and architecture, including X, Y, Z, A, B, C. I am a self-starter and able to work through ambiguity and a rapidly changing environment, having worked in multiple organisations from startup to corporate, in the past, etc., etc. So the
It's
cover
like
letter,
answering the recruiter questions.
exactly, the exact content that is here in this job description must be in your cover letter. And if it's not in there, they're going to say this is not a match. So what you do is you have one document, which I call an application. And the first page is your cover letter. The remaining pages are your resume that has been tailored specifically for this job, highlighting the skills that are related to this particular job. This is not a 5-minute task. This is something, even the best of us could probably take at least 10 or 15 minutes to do. But if your application document that you attach when you send it off goes through to the recruiter who's looking at that job, I've had 100% success in all of those people getting interviews when they tailor their application document to the job. So it's really, really important that they do that. Because basically, I have this fictional person I call Mary Smith, dumb recruiter, and Mary Smith is 22 with no life experience and can't read between the lines. So she's not going to know that, this particular platform is equivalent to that particular platform. So you have to actually say, I've worked on this platform, and that platform, so that she knows you have the exact skills of what she's looking for. So if you don't tell the person, you can't sell your skills. So you have to be very, very specific and highlight those in your application. So whether you applied on the company website or whether you applied through LinkedIn, you have to include a resume and a cover letter that exactly matches whatever details they've given you about the position. And if you don't do that, you really are wasting your time. And anybody who says to me, I've applied for 500 jobs and nobody ever gets back to me, well, I say, well, there's something wrong you're doing with your strategy. It's not something you're doing wrong with the application process. And you're doing that as well, but you can't blame everybody else for your bad luck. You're not using the right strategies. And the other really interesting thing is now 90% of jobs are not even advertised. 20 years ago it used to be 70% of jobs were not advertised, but now it's gone up to 90%. So having a good quality LinkedIn profile means that if I'm desperate and I want a digital creative and I go onto LinkedIn and I find somebody who suits, I'm just going to call you and get you in, and that's what people are doing now. And so they don't want to write up a job ad. They don't want to handle 300 applicants. They don't want to sort through and ring everybody and, check all these resumes. They just want to find what they're looking for and get the person over. So obviously they're going to use these sorts of tools to do that.
Lately, I started to see recruiters posting jobs just like a status on LinkedIn or update on LinkedIn.
Correct? Yep.
So they are mainly targeting their network, their friends who are
Yes.
connected with them already.
That's right. And, I spoke with a real estate agent recently, and they say, we just advertise on our Facebook page and we get all the applicants we need. So,
So this is social recruiting now.
Correct. It happens
So
a
this
lot.
might be the topic for our next hangout for sure, and I'm really happy to have this hangout with you, Sue. Thanks for
Welcome.
your time and all the valuable information you gave to us. And please promise us that you will be with us again in another hangout talking about maybe social recruiting.
Okay, well, make sure that you tell your viewers and listeners, whatever they are, to visit SueEllson.com. So that's SueEllson.com. And if they click through the publications page, they'll see heaps of content that I've written that may be useful to them or their clients. And I can consider another hangout at some stage, sure.
Sure. Thank you, Sue, for your time, and thanks for our fans and audience. And please don't forget to visit SueEllison.com or Google Sue Ellison. You will find her profile on LinkedIn and her website easily. And I'm sure that you will use her articles and publications to find your new job easily. Thanks, Sue. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Sam. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye. Okay.